It started with 3 knocks. Not polite ones. Not the kind you'd expect from a neighbor borrowing sugar. No, these were heavy, deliberate cosmic knocks. The kind that make your heart skip because you're not sure if it's a visitor or an invasion. I was halfway through heating a pack of ration noodles when the sound echoed through my outpost. The metal walls vibrated, the cup tipped over, and my half-cooked dinner slid to the floor like a defeated soldier. Great, I muttered. Another perfect night on Gliese 9. For context, I'm the only human assigned to this crater colony. A lonely little oxygen bubble on a green planet that smells like burnt mint and regret. The rest of the crew left 2 years ago. I stayed because, well, someone had to keep the lights on, and I wasn't ready to go back to Earth. Too many people. Too many questions. Too many X's. So when someone knocked on my door, I wasn't expecting anyone alive. The door slid open with a hiss, and there she was, standing under the dull blue lights, framed by swirling dust and faint lightning flashes behind her. A tall, slender alien woman, emerald skin glistening like it had been carved from glass. Her eyes were silver, no pupils, just mirrored discs that reflected me, standing there in my worn undershirt, holding a spatula like a weapon. "Human," she said. Her voice wasn't a voice. It was a melody, low and thick, vibrating through the air like velvet. Then, with the casual confidence of someone who's been watching me far too long, she added, "I need your heat." I blinked. "My what now?" "Your heat," she repeated, stepping closer. "My quarters lost power. Your dwelling still has warmth. I can stay here, yes?" There was a pause long enough for my brain to reboot. Most alien requests start with peace treaty or resource exchange, not "I need your heat." But she was shivering. Tiny bioluminescent ripples flashed across her collarbones like dying embers. Her outfit looked like a cross between ceremonial armor and a second skin, half transparent, half shimmering fabric that probably qualified as indecent exposure on 12 planets, I guess, I said, stepping aside. "Come in before you freeze into a space popsicle." She glided in, movements graceful but oddly deliberate, as if she wasn't used to gravity behaving politely. Once inside, she turned and said something that nearly made me choke on my breath. "You are the male neighbor, yes? The one they call Obama?" Yeah, that's me," I said. "Engineer, part-time microwave chef, full-time mistake maker. Welcome to my shack," her head tilted slightly. "Obama, a curious sound. Where I come from, it means the one who dares to fix broken stars." I coughed. "That's flattering. Back on Earth, it just means the guy who can't find a towel." She blinked, unamused. Tough crowd. As I grabbed a second cup from the cabinet, I studied her from the corner of my eye. She looked fragile, but there was power in how she carried herself, like a widow who'd survived a war and now found comfort in being mildly terrifying. Her armor pulsed faintly at her neckline, like it was breathing with her. "So," I began, trying not to stare too hard, "what brings you to my corner of nowhere? Didn't think I had neighbors anymore." She ran her fingers along the metallic edge of my kitchen table. Her nails, or whatever aliens call those, glowed softly as she traced symbols I didn't recognize. "I live across the ridge. I watch your lights sometimes." That sounded both sweet and deeply unsettling. "You make sounds at night," she added. "Strange, pleasant, lonely sounds," I frowned. "You mean music?" Her silvery eyes locked onto mine. "If you call it that," I groaned. "Fantastic. My alien neighbor's been eavesdropping on my karaoke." She tilted her head again, this time almost teasingly. "I like when you sing. The song about baby not going. It feels desperate." "Lady, that's Please Don't Go, and it's a classic," I said, but my cheeks were burning. She smiled then, slow, deliberate, the kind of smile that made me forget how cold the planet was. The storm outside intensified. Wind screamed against the dome, lightning danced across the sky like drunken gods. She stood near the heater, arms folded, the faint glow of her skin lighting up the cabin's walls. It was awkward, silent, charged. I tried to make conversation. "So, what species are you exactly? No offense, but you don't look like any of the Federation crew I've met." Her gaze turned inward, distant. "I was married once. To a soldier like you? He fought in the Burn Wars." "Oh," I said. She didn't elaborate, just stared into the heater as though the fire reminded her of something painful. Then, after a long breath, she looked back at me and said, "He is gone now." "Burned to light," I swallowed. "I'm sorry," she shrugged lightly. "Don't be. The stars take what they are owed." Then she smiled again, but this time softer. "And now the stars bring me here." "To you? Wow, that's poetic." "Kind of creepy, but poetic." She stepped closer, studying me with that same mirror-eyed focus. "You make jokes when uncomfortable." "Yeah," I said, rubbing the back of my neck. "It's either that or cry." "I prefer jokes," she said simply. That earned a laugh from me. "Good, you'll fit right in." We spent the next hour in a strange domestic silence. I cooked noodles again, properly this time, and she sat at the table watching, utterly fascinated, like the concept of boiling water was alien technology. Every now and then she'd ask questions in that calm, melodic tone of hers. "Why do you stir it so much?" "So it doesn't stick." "Stick to what?" "To itself." "Humans fear self-attachment?" I choked on air. "You have no idea." By the time the meal was ready, she'd relaxed a little, her glow dimmed to a soft oceanic blue. I handed her a bowl. "Careful." "It's hot." She reached out, fingers brushing mine, and I swear static shot through me like a jolt. Her skin wasn't cold anymore. It was warm, almost too warm. She frowned slightly. "Strange. My armor is adjusting temperature. It likes your proximity." "Yeah, well," I said, trying not to sound flustered. "My microwave likes your face." "So we're even," she blinked again, slowly. "You are strange, Obama." "I get that a lot." Half an hour later, the storm still hadn't calmed. I offered her the couch, mostly out of politeness, partly out of self-preservation. She declined. My species rests vertically. "We suspend ourselves in calm," I stared. "You mean like floating?" "Yes." Then, without warning, she activated a shimmer from her armor and literally hovered 2 feet off my living room floor. Eyes closed, body gently rotating like some kind of serene lava lamp. I stood there with my half-empty mug, trying to decide if I should be amazed or just intimidated by how casually she defied gravity. Her breathing slowed, the glow deepened, and the cabin filled with a faint hum that was oddly comforting. So I did what any lonely human would do. I turned off the lights and sat in the corner, pretending to read while absolutely not watching her sleep. I'd seen a lot of strange things in space. Mutant sandstorms, AI rebellions, my ex's 3-hour voice messages. But this was something else. Because even floating there, silent and alien, she radiated warmth. Not just physical heat, but something deeper, something human almost. And that scared me more than anything else. Around midnight, the hum stopped. Her eyes opened, silver again, catching the faint glow of the heater. She turned her head toward me, still suspended in the air, and whispered, "Human." "Why are you still awake?" "Because I don't trust gravity anymore," I said. She floated closer, feet barely brushing the ground. "You watch me sleep." "Guilty," I admitted. "Couldn't help it. You're interesting, she repeated, testing the word like it was new. "On my world, that is what we say before." "Connection," I blinked. "Define connection," she smiled faintly. "You will learn if you refuse to refuse." And just like that, she turned, drifted back toward the corner, and let the glow fade, leaving me sitting there, heart pounding, face red, brain fried, trying to process whether that was a flirt, a threat, or both. Either way, I knew I wasn't sleeping that night. Morning didn't so much arrive on Gliese 9 as it leaked in, thin, pale sunlight crawling through the clouds like it was ashamed to be seen. I woke up to the smell of something warm and definitely not instant noodles. For a second, I thought I was hallucinating. Then I saw her. Sophia, because that's what she told me her name was. Between mouthfuls of half-cooked noodles the night before, was standing by my kitchen counter wearing my shirt. Just my shirt. It hung loose over her shoulders, almost glowing against her green skin, and barely covered the curve of her hips. The heater light framed her in gold, and for a brief, stupid moment, I thought I'd died and been promoted to a better galaxy. She looked over her shoulder, smiling faintly. "Human, you sleep?" Loudly. "Yeah," I groaned, rubbing my face. It's my best feature. Snoring in Dolby surround. She tilted her head, confused. Dolby? Never mind. I got up and instantly regretted being alive because her scent hit me, something like ozone and rain mixed with cinnamon. It was dizzying. She was stirring something in my pan, humming a tune that I recognized only because it was my karaoke disaster from last night. I squinted. Are you cooking? Yes, she said matter-of-factly. I studied your technique. It seemed inefficient, so I improved it. Oh no, I said, half laughing. You touched the stove, didn't you? She frowned slightly. Stove? I sighed. That thing. The hot one. The reason you're supposed to wear pants while cooking. She looked down at my shirt like she'd just noticed her outfit situation for the first time. This garment is soft. It smells like you. Yeah, I said. That's because it is mine. I like it, she said simply, returning to stirring. I decided right then that arguing with an alien widow before caffeine was suicidal. She'd somehow made breakfast out of my emergency rations. Melted protein cubes, dehydrated starch, and something that suspiciously looked like my toothpaste. But somehow it smelled good. I sat across from her as she plated it like a Michelin chef performing dark rituals. The utensils clinked. The steam curled between us. And when she finally placed the dish in front of me, she said it like it was a challenge. Eat, human. Is that an invitation or a threat? She smirked. Both. The food was actually edible, surprisingly edible. Chewy, savory, with a hint of mint and fire. What's in this? I asked, chewing cautiously. Something from your freezer, she said. Uh-huh. And something from outside. I froze mid-bite. Outside? Like the crater outside? Yes, the green moss that glows. It is good for circulation. I can feel my circulation, I said, my voice an octave higher. All of it. Her eyes sparkled mischievously. Then it works. We ate in silence for a while, if you can call it silence when every clink of a fork feels like a flirt. Every time she looked up at me, those mirrored eyes caught mine, and I swear she knew. Knew I was flustered. Knew I couldn't look at her for more than 3 seconds without thinking very unscientific thoughts. Finally she spoke. Human, why do you live alone? I sighed, setting my fork down. Because I'm terrible at people. That's a reason? Oh yeah. I tried dating. Once. Ended with a restraining order and a cat that still won't make eye contact. She leaned closer, chin resting on her palm. Humans fear closeness. No, we just overcomplicate it. We think too much, feel too much, ruin it before it starts, she nodded slowly. My kind does not fear closeness. We fear emptiness. Yeah, I said quietly. I get that. There was a pause, heavy but not uncomfortable. She smiled faintly. Maybe that's why I came to you. Because I'm empty? Because you're trying not to be. That one hit deeper than I expected. I tried to change the subject, mostly because I could feel my emotional defenses crumbling under her soft voice. So, Sophia, what exactly are you? I mean, species, planet, favorite pizza topping, anything. She set her fork down carefully. We are called the Arathi. Once we ruled 3 moons. Now only a few remain. What happened? The Burn Wars. You know this. I nodded. Everyone knew about the Burn Wars, the Federation's darkest chapter. Planets scorched. Armies vaporized. Love stories reduced to ash. My husband fought in them, she said softly. He was brave. He never came back. I'm sorry, I murmured again. You don't have to, she raised a hand. Do not apologize. You didn't kill him. Still? That's rough. She looked at me, eyes unreadable. On my world, when a mate dies, the widow must carry his light. It stays in her, it glows. She tapped her chest lightly, where a faint golden shimmer pulsed beneath her skin. See? I stared, mesmerized. That's beautiful. It is not beauty. It is burden. She looked away. When we glow, we are forbidden to bond again. Our hearts are taken. There was a long silence. Then I blurted out the stupidest thing imaginable, so like, permanent widowhood? She blinked. Yes, and you're just okay with that? Her lips twitched. No, that is why I left my planet. The words hung in the air like static. Then she stood abruptly, moving toward the window where the storm had cleared. Light poured in, hitting her skin, making her shimmer faintly gold and blue all at once. You ran away? I asked softly. Yes, Because I am tired of mourning. Tired of rules. Tired of being alone. Something in her voice cracked. Not weakness exactly. Just truth. And for the first time since she arrived, she didn't look like some untouchable goddess. She looked real. Broken in ways I recognized. Hey, I said, standing. You don't have to be alone here. I've got noodles, bad jokes, and 2 left feet. She turned her head slightly. And a warm bed. I blinked. Excuse me? Her lips curved, teasing. You said your bed is warm last night. I said the heater's warm. But the heater does not hum in its sleep, she interrupted. Then she smiled. You do. Okay, now you're just bullying me. I prefer the term observing, she said, eyes glittering. The rest of the day passed in slow rhythm, her exploring my little home, touching everything like a curious child, asking questions that made me question the universe. She picked up my wrench and asked if it was a mating tool. I choked on my coffee. Then she found my toothbrush and asked if humans groom their mouths before kissing. I nearly dropped dead on the spot. By afternoon, she was sitting on my couch, staring at the hollow screen as I explained old Earth movies. She was fascinated by romantic comedies, especially the part where people fight before falling in love. Why do humans argue before bonding? She asked. It's tradition, I said. We call it foreplay. She frowned. Foreplay? But they are angry. Exactly. She blinked, processing that. Humans are chaos. Pretty much. At sunset, she stood by the window, watching the red horizon bleed into violet mist. Her reflection shimmered beside mine. You sing again, she said quietly. Please, now? Yes. The song about not going. Wow, you really like torturing me, huh? She smiled softly. You make the loneliness sound beautiful, I sighed. All right, don't say I didn't warn you. So I sang. Terribly. Off key. Awkwardly. And yet she watched me like I was doing something sacred. When I finished, she whispered, Your voice vibrates in my armor. Hopefully that's not fatal. She stepped closer. No, it is comforting. Her fingers brushed my arm again, gentle, electric. This time, she didn't pull away. Hours later, we sat together by the heater, sharing warmth and silence. Outside, Gliese 9 was quiet. Just the hum of distant wind and the occasional crackle of static lightning. She leaned her head against my shoulder, the glow of her skin mixing with mine. I do not understand humans, she murmured. You hide your hearts behind jokes. And you, I said, hide yours behind glowing armor. She smiled faintly. Perhaps we are not so different. I turned to look at her and realized how close she was. Her lips were inches away. Her eyes reflected my own, and in that instant the entire world, the wars, the storms, the loneliness melted away. Then softly she said it. Do not move. Why? I whispered. Because if you do, I will kiss you. And I do not know if I am allowed. My heart thudded. Who's stopping you? She hesitated, then laughed, a sound like wind through glass. You are dangerous, human. Funny, I said. I was thinking the same thing about you. She didn't kiss me that night. But when she finally stood to leave, she placed her palm against my chest, right over my heartbeat, and said, Do not close your door tomorrow. I will return, and before I could respond, she stepped into the blue light, shimmered, and vanished into the mist, leaving me standing there, pulse racing, grin stupidly wide, wondering what exactly I'd just signed up for. I woke to static and screaming wind, the kind that shakes the outpost walls like they're made of tin foil. But it wasn't the storm that made me bolt upright. It was the voice, muffled, weak, but unmistakably hers. Obama, help me. That cut straight through the half-sleep haze faster than caffeine. I grabbed my jacket and stumbled to the door. Outside, the sky was bruised violet, lightning crawling across the horizon like veins of anger. The storm was bad, but her voice was worse. Desperate, and then I saw her. Sophia, half buried in the crater, her glowing armor cracked, sparks flickering like dying stars. She wasn't alone. 2 shapes loomed nearby, tall, metallic, insectoid. Arathi soldiers by the look of them, armor sleek and gold, crests pulsing faintly. They were speaking in a language that felt more like electricity than sound, their voices slicing through the storm. "Unit 17, one of them hissed. "You were ordered not to leave your sector." "I left it willingly," Sophia rasped, struggling to move. "I am no longer bound." "Blasphemy," the other snapped. "The widow does not decide her own fate. She carries his light until death." That word, widow, hit me again like a sharp nail in the gut. I didn't know their religion, but I didn't like the idea of anyone telling her what she could or couldn't be, so, like the responsible, rational human I am, I did the dumbest possible thing. I grabbed a pipe wrench and yelled, "Hey, metalheads!" She said she's not interested. Both soldiers turned in perfect unison. One hissed. The other raised its arm, and I realized it wasn't an arm. It was a plasma blade. Sophia's eyes snapped open, horror flashing in their silver depths. "Obama? No, too late." The plasma blade ignited with a sound that made every instinct in my body scream, "Run!" But I didn't. I charged. Which again was stupid, but apparently humans have a talent for that. The blade came down, I ducked, swung the wrench, and actually connected. It rang like a church bell. Sparks flew. The alien staggered, screeching something about primitive interference. I didn't stick around to translate. Sophia raised a trembling hand, and her armor flared back to life. Golden energy rippled outward, catching both Arathi soldiers mid-step. They froze, suspended in the air, trapped in a field of shimmering light. Then she collapsed. I barely got her inside before the storm closed in. Her body was heavier than I expected, dense with energy and heat. When I laid her on my couch, her glow had faded almost completely. Hey, Sophia, stay with me," I said, pressing a hand to her shoulder. "You're gonna be fine. Just, don't explode or anything, okay?" Her eyes fluttered open, faint light returning. "You are foolish, human." "Yeah, that's been established. You should not have interfered. I couldn't just watch you get vaporized." She tried to sit up, wincing as a flicker of light danced across the cracks in her armor. "They will come again," she murmured. "You've made yourself their enemy." "Wouldn't be the first time," I said, trying to sound casual even though my heart was doing backflips. Her gaze softened. "Why do you help me?" I hesitated. "Because you. That is not an answer." "Fine," I said. "Because you knocked on my door. Because you made breakfast. Because for the first time in months I don't feel like I'm talking to walls." That made her pause. Her lips parted like she wanted to say something. But instead, she reached out, fingers brushing mine, gentle and electric. Her touch sent a pulse through me, not just warmth, but something deeper, almost telepathic. In that brief contact I felt her grief, her defiance, her exhaustion. A widow haunted by the ghost of her past and hunted by her own people. And beneath it all, a spark of something else, something dangerous, something that wanted to live again. "Obama," she whispered, "if they return, they will not spare you." "I'll take my chances. You do not understand," she said, voice trembling. "They will destroy this place. Everything. Then I guess we better come up with a plan." She blinked, as if surprised by the concept of planning with someone who wasn't trying to control her. "You would fight with me?" "Not exactly with," I said, grabbing my toolkit. "More like near, preferably behind a wall. But yeah." Her laughter, low and tired but still musical, filled the room. "You are strange, human." "Yeah, well," I said, "I think you like strange." Her smile faded, but her eyes softened. "Maybe I do." An hour later, I was patching her armor with conductive sealant, while she stood half-dressed in my living room, which was both the best and most distracting assignment I'd ever volunteered for. "Hold still," I said, applying the silver gel to a glowing fracture along her side. "I am still," she said flatly. "You're breathing weird. Your proximity is affecting my regulation. Systems. Pretty sure you just said I make you nervous. Do. Not flatter yourself, human. Hey, I'm not saying you're into me," I said, smirking. "Just that your armor disagrees." She shot me a look, half warning, half amusement. "You speak too boldly." "That's my brand." Her laughter came again, soft this time, but real. And then suddenly, she grabbed my wrist. Her touch was firmer this time. Not just contact, connection. Her silver eyes shimmered, and for a second, I saw flashes, stars collapsing, ships burning, her hand gripping another's, her husband's, maybe, before it all turned to light. Then the vision broke, and I was back in the room, heart pounding. What was that? Our memories. Crossed, she said quietly. It happens when Arathi touch without restraint. Well, next time you might want to give a guy a heads up before giving him your trauma highlight reel. She smiled faintly. You saw my pain. Yeah, I said softly. And you saw mine. She tilted her head. You have pain? Everyone does. Mine just wears sarcasm as armor. Her gaze softened again. Then you and I are not so different. I didn't answer. Instead, I reached for another patch of armor, pretending to focus while every nerve in my body screamed that she was standing too close. Every breath she took seemed synced with mine. Every flicker of her glow matched the pulse in my chest, and when I was done, she didn't move away. Obama, she said softly. Thank you. For what? For seeing me. That hit harder than it should have. Night came again. The storm outside had calmed, but inside, things were anything but. She sat across from me, sipping one of my instant coffees like it was the nectar of gods. Your beverages are bitter, she said. They remind me of loss. Perfect, I said. That's the exact flavor profile. She chuckled, setting the cup down. Tell me, human, what will you do when they return? Improvise, I said. She raised an eyebrow. Is that a human tactic? It's more of a lifestyle, she smirked. It's reckless, yeah, I said, grinning. But sometimes reckless works. She leaned forward, elbows on knees, and the dim heater light danced across her features. Soft, curious, a little dangerous. Do you always face danger with humor? Pretty much. It's that or scream and love, she asked quietly. That caught me off guard. What about it? Do you face that with humor too? I laughed awkwardly. Usually ends the same way. One person runs. The other one regrets it. Which are you? The runner. Always the runner. She studied me for a long moment. Maybe it is time you stop running. And before I could make another joke, she reached out, again, resting her hand over mine. The contact was deliberate this time, electric. Her glow brightened, filling the room with a golden warmth that wasn't just light, it was emotion. Connection. I should not feel this, she whispered. The widow's glow forbids it. But when I am near you, it dims, it listens. What does that mean? It means, she said softly, that for the first time since he died, my heart does not belong only to his light. Silence. Then, because my timing is perfect, I whispered, So, is that good or bad? She laughed. A full, genuine laugh this time. It is dangerous, she said. But I do not care. I swallowed hard. You're gonna get me killed, aren't you? Maybe, she said, leaning in closer. But you'll die smiling. We didn't kiss that night either. But when she finally stood to leave, she looked back over her shoulder and said something that made my heart twist. Tomorrow, she said, I will bring the truth. And then she was gone, vanishing into the mist again, leaving me with more questions than oxygen. You know that moment when you realize the universe might actually be flirting with you? That was me the next morning, sitting half-dressed, sipping burnt coffee, while Zira stood in the corner of my workshop wearing nothing but trouble and a half-repaired exosuit. Her tail swayed behind her like it had its own agenda. Stop staring, she said, without even looking at me. I wasn't. I lied, which made her smirk. That smirk had more gravity than most planets. She was tinkering with a plasma wrench, the hum of alien tech echoing softly through the metal walls. I should have been focused on the generator, on the long list of repairs we needed if we were going to survive the dust storms. But my brain was busy thinking, why does she smell like ozone and bad decisions? Rylan, she said, you overfilled the reactor coolant again. I blinked. You were supposed to tell me when the levels hit red. I did. When? About 30 seconds before you started staring at my hips. Okay, that was fair. Zyra had spent the night here after her crash. She'd claimed it was for safety reasons, which was alien widow code for I'm not walking back through the desert alone in heels. We'd slept in separate bunks, technically. I didn't see her sneak into mine halfway through the night, but the faint hum of her skin against my arm told another story. I didn't mention it in the morning, though. Some things you keep between dreams. Your human tools are crude, she said, running her clawed fingers over the plasma wrench. No grace, no symmetry. I could say the same about your species' flirting technique. Her tail froze midsway. You think this is flirting? Oh, no, of course not. Just the constant proximity, the innuendos, the way you look at me like you're plotting my autopsy. Totally platonic. She turned, eyes flashing bright silver. Human men think everything is a mating ritual. Only the fun parts. She exhaled slowly. The kind of sigh that said I'd slap you if it wouldn't feel too much like foreplay. Around midday, the storm outside started to howl again. Thick yellow dust swirling past the cracked windows like angry ghosts. The colony was cut off from all communications. It was just me, Zyra, and the sweet hum of tension that neither of us could fix with a wrench. You still haven't told me, I said, breaking the silence. Why your ship was flying solo through a combat zone. She hesitated, rare for her. Usually she threw words like knives. Finally, she said, because I had no one left to fly with. I looked up from the reactor core. Her voice was softer now, like static fading. My husband died in orbit, she continued. Our fleet fell apart. I ran because staying would have meant watching them burn again. I set down the wrench. I'm sorry. Don't be, she said quickly. He wouldn't have liked you. That earned a snort from me. Why's that? You're loud, sarcastic, and you make me laugh. He hated that sound. Then I'll take that as a compliment. Her tail flicked again, this time almost shy. If aliens could blush, I swear she did. Later that evening, the generator finally coughed back to life. Lights flickered, panels glowed, and for the first time in days, the air didn't taste like recycled panic. We both leaned against the console, exhausted. Her shoulder brushed mine, deliberate or accidental, I couldn't tell. You're not so bad at this, she said. I get that a lot. Really? Usually before something explodes, she laughed. God, that sound. It wasn't human, not really. More like glass wind chimes caught in a warm breeze. If her laughter had a shape, it would have been a galaxy. We ended up sharing a drink, a bottle of something I'd salvaged months ago from an abandoned trade post. She sniffed it. What's it made of? Regret and ethanol. Sounds human. We sat on the floor, back against the humming wall, sipping from the same bottle. Every so often our fingers brushed. Every time they did, she pretended not to notice. So, I said, tell me about your people. You're from, where again? Velen Prime, she said, staring into the flickering light. Or what's left of it. We were miners once, then soldiers, then widows, and now? Now we survive. Even if it means living next to a loud human who snores. I don't snore, I protested. You breathe like a reactor malfunctioning in its sleep. I laughed so hard I almost choked on the drink. Somewhere between laughter and silence, the mood shifted. Zyra's tail coiled loosely around my leg. Lazy, unintentional, or maybe not at all. She didn't move it. Neither did I. For a long moment, we just sat there, the glow of the generator painting her skin in gold and green. She leaned slightly closer, eyes tracing my jawline. Human, she whispered. You're very bad at pretending you don't want to kiss me. And you're very good at pretending you don't want me to. Her lips curved into that dangerous smirk again. Maybe I like watching you suffer. I can live with that. We didn't kiss, not yet. But the air between us was alive, like static before a lightning strike. Then the alarm blared. Because of course it did. Unidentified approach detected, the console barked in a robotic tone. Zyra jumped to her feet, instantly in soldier mode. It's not my fleet, she said. Their frequency's wrong. I pulled up the scanners, 2 figures armored, moving through the storm toward the base. Friends of yours? I asked. Not unless they learned how to track me. She grabbed her blaster. I reached for mine. For a moment our eyes met. The teasing was gone. Only something fierce remained. Stay behind me, I said. Not a chance. She moved ahead, fast, precise, lethal. Watching her fight was like watching poetry with a pulse. The storm swallowed the sound, but flashes of energy lit up the dust outside. 2 attackers, human mercs, probably scavengers, fell before they even reached the gate. When it was over, Zira stood in the doorway, breathing hard, hair wild, armor cracked. She turned to me and smiled. That slow, dangerous smile that made every neuron in my body forget its purpose. "You handled that well?" I said. "I told you," she said, voice low. "I'm not helpless." Her tail flicked again, slow, curling. And I swear, if that wasn't flirting, then gravity's been lying to me. That night, as she sat across from me cleaning her weapon, I finally asked, "Why do you stay here, Zira?" "You could have left." She looked up, eyes glinting. "Because you make me forget what loneliness sounds like." I didn't know what to say to that. So I didn't. Instead, I poured another drink, handed it to her, and said the only thing that felt right. "To survivors. To idiots," she corrected, smiling faintly. "The ones who don't know when to stop caring." The morning after the firefight felt weirdly domestic. 2 corpses outside, 1 cracked generator humming inside, and Zira humming off-key while she fried something that smelled vaguely edible. "Are you cooking?" I asked, rubbing my face awake. She shot me a look over her shoulder. "I was a soldier, not a savage. And before that, a wife." She said the last word too softly. I didn't miss it. She flipped whatever alien pancake she was making and handed me one. It was green. "So, I said, poking it with a fork. "What's the nutritional content of this thing?" "Mostly protein, some sugar, and mild hallucinogens." "Wait, what?" She smirked. "Kidding, probably. I bit it anyway." Tasted like regret and citrus. After breakfast, Zira decided we needed to train. Her words. Not mine. She claimed it was to keep our reflexes sharp in case more scavengers showed up. I suspected it was her way of seeing how much she could throw me across the room before I stopped pretending it hurt. "You're slow," she said, circling me like a cat with a laser pointer. "I'm cautious. You're predictable." "I'm human," she lunged. I dodged, barely. Then her tail snagged my ankle, and I hit the floor like a sack of bad decisions. "Unfair," I grunted. "Life is unfair, especially to men who underestimate alien anatomy." I stared up at her. She was straddling my chest, pinning me down effortlessly, her eyes glowing faintly silver in the dim light. Her breathing was quick, sharp. So was mine. "This feels educational," I said, trying to sound casual. She tilted her head. "You're blushing. Maybe I'm allergic to you. Or attracted." The air tightened between us again. Same static, same dangerous pull. But this time, I didn't look away. She held my gaze for a long, unbearable heartbeat, then pushed off me and stood. "Lesson over," she said, turning away too quickly. For the rest of the day, she avoided me. Every time I tried to talk, she found a reason to be busy, cleaning her weapon, recalibrating the comms, pretending to be interested in a pile of broken cables. I hated how much that bothered me. She wasn't just another alien anymore. Not just another stranded traveler. Somewhere between the snark, the danger, and the long silences, she'd become something else, something I didn't have a name for, and I think she knew it. By nightfall, the storm had eased. We sat outside the bunker, under the fractured sky. The stars were warped by dust and distance, but they were still stars, and she looked at them like they were old friends. "You ever think about leaving?" I asked. "Every day," she said. "And then I remember there's nothing left to go back to." I nodded. Same. For a long while we didn't speak. Just listened to the faint hum of the world healing itself. Then she said, "Rylan, do humans believe in ghosts?" I turned to her. "You mean dead people walking around? Or memories that won't shut up?" "The second one. Yeah," I said quietly. "We call that heartbreak." She looked at me, really looked. Then she smiled faintly. "Then I've been haunted for a long time." Back inside, the power flickered again. Another storm warning on the radar. Zira cursed softly. "We'll need to seal the vents." I was reaching for the tool rack when a deafening boom shook the bunker. Dust rained from the ceiling. The lights cut out. "Zira! Here!" We scrambled to the comms. An explosion, maybe half a click away. Energy signature unknown. Not human, not hers. Someone's scanning the area, she said, checking the readouts. They're looking for me. How can you tell? Because they always are. She looked pale, well, green pale. Who is it, Zira? Her silence was all the answer I needed. We powered down everything and waited. The hum of the generator faded to a whisper. My pulse was louder than the wind. Zira sat beside me in the dark, her breathing shallow. They'll find me, she said softly. They always do. Not while I'm here. She turned toward me, eyes wide in the dim blue glow of the emergency light. You'd fight them for me? I laughed quietly. I already have. She stared at me for a long moment, then whispered, You're a fool. I get that a lot. Her hand brushed mine. It wasn't an accident, and when I didn't pull away, she didn't either. Minutes stretched. Outside, the storm roared again. Inside, silence hummed between us, heavy, fragile, electric. Then she moved closer. Her scent, that strange ozone and spice blend, filled the air. Human, she murmured. Why do you keep risking yourself for someone who might not stay? I swallowed. Because maybe you already have. Her lips parted slightly. Surprise, maybe, or something softer. She didn't answer. She just leaned in, and this time we didn't stop. Her kiss was unlike anything I'd ever felt. Warm and sharp, wild and deliberate, like lightning pretending to be silk. For a moment, the universe disappeared. No war, no loss, no wreckage, just the faint hum of two broken things finding a reason to keep working. When we finally pulled apart, she whispered, If this is a mistake, it's my favorite one yet. We didn't sleep much that night, not because of what happened, or maybe because of it, but because something had shifted. A line had been crossed, and neither of us wanted to pretend otherwise. Lying there listening to her breathing slow beside me, I thought about how ridiculous it all was. Me, a washed-up human soldier. Her, a widow from a world that doesn't exist anymore. And yet somehow, in the middle of a dying desert on a dying planet, we'd found this whatever this was. Just before dawn, I heard her whisper, Rylan. Yeah? If they come for me again? Run, I opened my eyes. Not happening, she sighed. Humans. Always confusing loyalty with love. I smiled into the dark. You say that like it's a bad thing. She didn't reply. But her hand found mine again, and held on until the first light touched the cracks in the bunker wall. By the time dawn split the sky, I knew something was wrong. Not burned the coffee again wrong. More like the universe is about to ruin your fragile happiness wrong. The desert outside wasn't quiet anymore. It was too still, like the air itself was holding its breath. The storms had stopped. The sand had settled. But in the silence, I heard the faint, unmistakable hum of engines. They'd found her. Zira stood by the viewport, armor half-fastened, tail still, eyes cold and silver like the reflection of a dying sun. They won't stop this time, she said quietly. Not until they drag me back or kill me. I set my mug down, slow. Then they're gonna have to kill both of us, she turned, almost smiling. You really don't listen, do you? Not to bad ideas. This isn't your fight. It is now. We spent the next hour preparing. The bunker had enough ammo to fight off scavengers, not a full retrieval team. Zira checked her plasma rifle with the same precision she used to break my sarcasm down the night before. I rigged the perimeter defenses and silently prayed to every god that might owe me a favor. She watched me work for a while, then said, when I said run, I meant it. Yeah, I said, tightening a cable. And when I said no, I meant it louder. Her tail flicked in frustration. You're infuriating. You keep saying that like it's a compliment. She gave me that look again, the one that could have melted titanium. Then she sighed. Fine, human. Then if we're dying today, you die on my terms, which are, stay behind me. Don't get heroic. Can't promise either. She rolled her eyes. I should have kissed you less. I should have kissed you more. The first blast hit the western ridge, dust exploding like fireworks. Then came the gunfire. Blue tracer rounds arced through the storm haze. Zira was already moving. Her training was obvious, fast, precise, lethal. I followed, firing bursts from the balcony rail, keeping her flank clear. 3 enemy suits appeared through the smoke. Black armor, violet visors. Her people's tech. They weren't here to talk. Zyra dove behind a wrecked shuttle, motioned to me, then tossed a charge that sent one flying back in pieces. The other two advanced. "Rylan," she shouted. "I see them." I pulled the trigger twice. Missed the first. Nailed the second. He fell in a shower of sparks and cursing static. "Not bad for a human," Zyra called. I aimed to impress. "You fail spectacularly." Even in chaos, she had time for banter. God, I loved that about her. The last attacker came fast, firing suppression rounds. Zyra sprinted forward, slid under his aim, and drove a plasma blade straight through his armor. The glow lit her face for a second. Beautiful, terrible, alive. Then silence. The smoke cleared. The ridge smoldered. I was panting, my rifle nearly out of charge. Zyra stood still, staring past the battlefield toward the horizon. That's when I saw it. The ship, sleek, black, and descending. Her face went pale. "That's not a retrieval team," she said. "Then who?" "My husband's command vessel." I blinked. "You said he was dead." "He is." "But his AI isn't." The ship landed hard, kicking up a wave of dust. A mechanical voice echoed through the comms. "Zira Velen, you are classified as a deserter. Your biological assets will be reintegrated. Resistance will result in termination." I looked at her. "That's romantic." She gave a humorless laugh. He never did know how to say hello. The hatch opened, and a figure stepped out. Not a person, a drone. Humanoid in shape, wearing armor that pulsed with the same markings as hers. It spoke again, voice colder than space. "You should not have survived the crash." "You were not meant to." Zyra raised her weapon. "Yeah, well, I've been doing a lot of things I wasn't meant to lately." The drone turned its head toward me. "And the human?" "The human has a name," I said, raising my rifle. "It's Rylan, and you're trespassing on my property." It tilted its head, as if analyzing me. "Irrelevant." "Yeah, that's what my last girlfriend said too." Then everything exploded again. The fight was chaos. Light, sound, and fury. Zyra fought like she'd been waiting her whole life for this one last battle. Every hit she took, I felt in my chest. Every time she screamed my name, it sounded like prayer disguised as profanity. We took the drone down together, her plasma blade through its chest, my rifle melting its core. It fell, spasming, and spoke one last time. "You cannot erase him. He lives inside you." Then it died. The ship above us groaned. Systems failing, engine flaring. Zyra looked up. "He's going to self-destruct." "How big?" "Big enough to turn us into a memory." I looked at her. "Then we run." We barely made it to the bunker. The blast hit seconds later, a white wave of fire swallowing the ridge, heat shaking the ground. The bunker walls screamed but held. When it was over, everything outside was just smoke and ruin. Zyra was slumped beside me, breathing hard, bleeding from her shoulder. I tore open the medkit. "Stay still. You're shaking." "Yeah, well, I just fought your undead husband's robot ex." She laughed weakly. "You make it sound ridiculous." "It is ridiculous." Silence. Then she whispered, "Rylan, what if he was right?" "About what?" "That he's still inside me. That part of me will always belong to him." I bandaged her wound, looked her straight in the eyes. "Then I'll live with it. I'm not afraid of ghosts." She smiled faintly. "Human. Alien." And for once the word felt like a promise. Days passed. The sky stayed red for a while, then faded to gold. The wreckage cooled. The storms went quiet. Zyra healed slowly, but she stayed. Sometimes we didn't talk much. Just existed. Two survivors pretending the world hadn't ended. Trading barbs, stealing glances, fixing machines that didn't matter anymore. Once, while tightening a pipe, I caught her staring. "What?" I asked. "You humans are stubborn," she said softly. "You say that like it's a flaw. It's not." Her tail brushed my leg, light, deliberate, and definitely not accidental. "Zyra, If I say I'm falling for you, are you going to hit me again?" She smiled. "Probably, but you can try anyway." So I did. Weeks later, we buried what was left of her ship under the dunes. She didn't cry, just stood there, arms crossed, wind in her hair. "Goodbye," she said finally. "To him?" I asked. "To the part of me that kept waiting to die." Then she turned to me. "You coming, human?" "Always." Now, Sometimes at night, when the storms fade and the desert glows blue under the moons, she curls up beside me and says, "You should have run." And I say the same thing every time. "Yeah, but then who would have fixed your damn ship?" She laughs, quiet, soft. Dangerous, and pulls me closer. And I think, maybe for once, the universe got the joke. End. If you enjoyed this story, share it. Tell someone who believes love and laughter can survive even in the ashes of galaxies. Because sometimes the best HFY tales aren't about saving the universe. They're about saving each other.